you've ever wondered how close to home cancer has come to City, all you need to do is look at our front row. You've got Cityline producer Mary Benediba, diagnosed in 2004. We have Cynthia Mulligan, City News reporter, diagnosed in 2010. We've got Breakfast Television director Barb Britton, diagnosed in 2011. And Cityline's floor director, whom we've already met, J.C. Chessel, diagnosed in 2012. These four women have walked through the fire, and each has learned to deal with the lasting legacy of cancer, and that's what we want to talk about right now with Dr. Rodin. So let's start with you, Mary. When you think about your life beyond cancer, what are the things that are still ringing true for you with your cancer?
For me, it's hard to say that what's ringing true, because I don't know. I was waiting for some kind of epiphany when I had the cancer, and I'm still waiting to become that amazing person.
Except you already are.
Oh, am I? Okay. So it's that kind of sometimes that guilt that I haven't done more, and haven't championed it more. But the lasting legacy for me right now is I'm 10 years in. I just had a breakup with my oncologist, so she's dumping me, and I don't know how to be not seeing part of that community anymore. So I'm farther away from cancer, and it scares me. It sounds weird, but I feel like I'm not being taken care of anymore. I'm not part of that community. So the further away I am from it, the less I know how to define myself.
If you knew how many people in the audience were nodding right now, Mare, they're all like, yes, I get it, because you said a key word, and it's community.
Yeah.
There's a community happening, and now you feel like the community is kind of leaving you behind. What happens? Who's taking care of you? Who's watching your body now? Let's talk a little bit about guilt, because that's what she mentioned. Guilt that she didn't become this, entirely new person. She had been through cancer. She expected to be Mother Teresa on the other side. Right. It doesn't always happen that way, and guilt is a big one with people who are survivors.
Well, there's so many things that happen to someone when they have cancer. It's often, especially the younger a person is, it's quite a shocking experience. It's not usually in one's frame of reference. It's frightening. And I think many people begin to rethink their lives, actually. That's a warning call to think about, am I living my life the way I want to? Mm-hmm. Are the relationships I'm in the kind that I want? Or is the way I'm working or spending my time the way I want? And so sometimes actually people make a lot of positive changes afterwards, but it makes people rethink, which is probably not a bad idea anyway for all of us, no matter what age and stage we're on.
Okay, let's take a listen to Cynthia now. So Cynthia, we all knew your journey. We felt like we walked through it with you because you were very brave to talk about it. For you, what's the legacy?
I think that I'm having a problem slowing down. It's been 5 years next week since I was diagnosed, and I probably have lived 20 years in those 5 years, and I almost in a way, I wouldn't say frenetic, but I'm trying to fit everything in, and I need to learn to just slow down a little bit more and relax. I have 2 young daughters, so they keep me really busy, but I really do, I'm very cognizant of the fact that the moments with them are extra special, because I always thought if I get 5 more years cancer-free, I'll be so happy. And now that 5 years is coming, it's like, okay, can I have 5 more? Because it's been great, but I do feel that I need to just slow down, calm down a little bit, and try not to pack everything in quite so much. And maybe that's a fear. Maybe I can just start letting that go, that I do have 5 more years.
So you're trying to pack in all the living you can in as little amount of time as possible.
You got
Is that
it.
What's happening?
Yeah, definitely.
What do you think that's about, Dr. Rodin?
Well, it's partly about realizing how precious life is and not taking it for granted, how precious your children are and the time you spend with them. But there's also probably some anxiety about it, that the idea that what if this doesn't last? And, one of the things that people who've had cancer have to live with is uncertainty. No matter how good the prognosis is, one lives with a certain degree of uncertainty. And actually, that's the problem we all have as human beings, right? None of us actually know what the next 5 years hold. And so it reminds us really of the uncertainty that we all have to live with. And how do we take advantage of the time we have and treat it as precious, but as you said, not be so frenetic actually that we're spinning our wheels in a way that we can't even enjoy it.
Cancer has a randomness to it as well, just because it splits across socioeconomic status, across race, across culture, and I can see where that uncertainty would come from. Barb was hit twice. You were diagnosed. Your husband was diagnosed. we lost your husband.
Yeah.
And so you're dealing with a lot. You're dealing with what you've had to go through, the reconstructive surgeries. You're dealing with having to have that big of a loss in your life. Tell me how your life has been changed or what the legacy is for you.
Well, there is, a lot of guilt, obviously, because I'm still here. And I think a lot about what Darren would want, and, he would want me to get out there. A great Dr. Satok said, you can get busy living or get busy dying. So I'm probably the opposite of Cynthia in that I need to get busy living because I tend to nest. I tend to be, a hermit. So I set small goals for myself, and I'm doing pretty well because just in conversation with people, I would find they'd say, oh, do you ski? Do you do this? And I would say, oh, well, I used to. And I thought, God, I'm saying that too much. I used to. I don't want to say that anymore. So, I've been getting out skiing. I got out ice skating, and I'm trying to just learn, to say yes and know that I have Darren's blessing, to just, to go on, because he was pretty amazing, and my, I'm just trying to find my identity because I was married when I was diagnosed. He was an amazing caregiver, and he loved me for who I was and who I was going to be. I mean, I had a double mastectomy, and I decided not to go for reconstructive surgery. This is Victoria's best kept secret.
See, that's the Barb we know and love. You said something interesting. You said identity, and this idea of an identity loss. So it's the identity of connecting with a certain community, the identity of having that taken away from you, the identity of living, beyond the changes in your body and the lives that have been lost. That must be a huge one to tackle.
Well, cancer disrupts everything when it happens. It disrupts all of the things that we rely on and we use to feel good about ourselves. Mm-hmm. For a while, when people are going through treatment, it becomes one's whole identity, being a cancer patient. Because going through chemo and radiotherapy, these are like marathons that one has to go through, and one is sort of engulfed in that world. And the other thing we heard about is, for someone who's had a partner for a long time, part of one's identity is of being a couple. Mm-hmm. And when you lose a partner in that way, one has to reinvent oneself. One has to have a new identity as an individual, without that same partner. Sometimes people think that they have to be Superwoman or Superman and do everything, and I think beginning in small ways with those things that you might have enjoyed. Yeah. Other people, by the way, say, that work that I used to do, I actually didn't like it, and they're happy not to do that anymore. Here. Yeah, right. So sometimes it's about reinventing oneself in a different way, not only.
Yes. Hopefully Breakfast Television doesn't need to start looking for a new director. Barb, you like your job, okay? You're staying. Really quickly, JC, I know we've spoken with you already, but what's the big thing for you that rings true when it comes to your cancer?
Well, I found it interesting. When I was going through treatment, you make all these big decisions, as we talked about before. You make all these big decisions because you need to stay alive. Mm-hmm. And, to get, your ovaries out, if you get your ovaries out, to have mastectomy, to make these huge life-altering decisions, and now I'm through it, and now I'm living with the fallout of, they were the right decisions, don't get me wrong, they were absolutely the correct decisions for me, but now I'm trying to put life back together with those decisions that I've made. Mm-hmm. And it's hard. I mean, I'm young and I'm dating, and what do you say first? Like, hey, I hope you're not a boob man. Like, what do you say? Like, oh, come on. But it's true, I'm sorry, but it's how do you, dating and this not being the first thing that comes out of your mouth. Yeah. Because you're so proud. I did this. And I did something that not everybody can do. And I did it, and I came through it, and I'm very proud of the way I got through it. But I don't want to go spread that to everybody I'm dating. I'm sorry if I'm going to be dating your sons. I'm sorry. I have no secrets. But, it's the fallout from those decisions that, you make like that. And then you've got this lifetime to live with them.
Thank you so much for your honesty, all four of you. That is great.